This is TWiT.
All right, let's talk. So before the show, I was talking about privacy and how I've changed my tune. For a long time, I worried that being absolutist about privacy was going to hurt the kinds of technologies, slow down the development of technologies that would be fabulously useful. Things like Google Assistant. Siri is Apple's privacy-forward version of that, just not as good because it's privacy-forward. And for a long time, I thought, well, privacy, I understand the desire for privacy, but really all of these tracking technologies are doing is, targeting ads. What's the harm in that, right? Everybody makes a big deal about it, but and people like Dvorak would say, well, just wait till the insurance companies get a hold of it and they deny you insurance because they know you went to Dunkin' Donuts 4 times last week. Yeah, when that happens, maybe there's a cause for concern. Well, it started to happen. So now I am a little more careful and a little less sanguine about privacy concerns. Here's the one that stopped me in my tracks. There's a data broker called SafeGraph. Not a good name. Well, not an appropriate name. They were selling for $160 because Motherboards Vice bought it, the data of everybody who visited a Planned Parenthood over a period of time. $160, no warrant, anybody could buy it. And now you immediately see the risk, especially in light of what may be the overturning of Roe v. Wade. That could be information that could put you in jail.
Yeah.
In Texas, for sure, and get you sued. SafeGraph says, whoops, we didn't mean to do that, and we're going to change it. Okay, fine. But these data brokers, you could start to see as stories come out about law enforcement and others using these data brokers about people being doxxed. There's a big story about how Apple, Google, Snap, and others had inadvertently given information to people posing as law enforcement. They didn't check because it was an emergency request. And they said, yeah, it's an emergency. Here's Brianna Wu's home address. We're starting to see the problem here. Your OPSEC is probably very good by now, Brianna, I'm sure.
It is, but I want to tell you, Leo, with my current job, we do a lot of ad targeting. We do work with a lot of these data brokers, and I hesitate to use the word dystopian, but it is very concerning just how much information they have and what they can do with it. Let me give you a specific example. If I'm working an election and I want to target people that have, let's say, an issue of like, I don't know, $15 minimum wage or let's say bankruptcy, right? I can actually go out there and request to everyone that's read an article on, say, how to file for bankruptcy in their Google results. And then that will be tied to their unique ID identifier. And I can serve them ads on that across multiple networks. I mean, it is a truly staggering amount of information there. I've been saying for a long time this needs to be regulated. And just one more point here. I didn't know this until I started running for Congress, and I started talking to various people that were basically defendants, lawyers that work defense cases. There is such an asymmetric power of discovery in if the government wants to pursue a case against you, in the information they are able to subpoena and find. We're talking Nest cams, where your Google account has been. Basically, they can just keep collating all this data until they find something that is basically builds the case that they want. Oftentimes, it's using data that is incomplete or may give them an incorrect picture of a situation.
But might be very compelling to a jury because it's technology,
exactly.
And, well, we know how good that is.
A really good example. There was a guy that had someone else's phone with him in his bag, and he ended up being put on the location of a murder scene in New York. Right, that was very compelling evidence, and you don't have that same power of discovery to prove that you aren't there. So this is a very important issue, and I'm glad people are finally seeing this.
I'm sure you're finally, Alex saying, well, finally, Leo, you finally came around. Took you long enough.
Okay. I mean, It's interesting because I am sympathetic with your view. Like I do think, or your previous view, I do think that like a lot of times data can actually be useful for us, especially when it comes to targeted advertising. Like I would rather have better ads than worse ads. And I think that like many things on the internet, the discussion of privacy has become flattened and polarized, whereas it's an extremely nuanced conversation where we should say, I don't think you can say it's good or evil. I would say there are useful and destructive purposes. And do we have the attention span to talk about some of the useful and destructive purposes and actually push us towards a better internet versus having to be all in or all out, on one way or the other. And I feel like we've always had good discussions about it here, on TWiT. And I think that this is yet another data point where we look and we found more stuff that we need to be skeptical about. But I'm going to go back to a point I made earlier, which is that we're in the like first inning of the internet. I mean, so early on. And this is like our opportunity to determine what the direction we're going in is going to be. And, I think that like, if we can find the wherewithal to concentrate on these cases, we're actually going to be in a much better place than if we go all the way on one side and say privacy is good, or all the way on the other side and say, it's bad. Like there's nuance here. But these cases that you're bringing up, I mean, are extremely, concerning and alarming.